Alright, chief on air for me, Mobi Aquaba, so I church you be a bit at the bank as a TV. So, we say for a year, Pragia ambulance no trendy your my Ghana Moasia. Under John Dramani Mahama, the government, and as in the governance, and on Modesa Pragia ambulance, Yabase, Omodiba more no, a berkshire, a hot on says, no more, and in Jimon Baku see of much say. Ɛnyɛ safe even koraa no ɛtumi dane no obi a ɔyare na ɔda mu na ɛsɛ akɔdane a sɛ ayɛ worse. Amanfoɔ bebree de wɔn ani de si mato saa nsɛm yi mɛpɛ sɛ yɛkɔ akɔtie no nyinaa. Subscribe to my channel, like na fa adwenkyerɛ gu comment section hɔ kama.
Vehicle that we hear has been purchased under the government of John Dramani Mahama to be given to some chiefs compounds in the north, right? And we want to see, not viewing from a political perspective. Maybe when our guests come in, they might decide to view it from a political perspective. But I want to put it on record that whatever I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to say it based on my experience in the health sector. Not as an MPP person, but based on my experience in the health sector. The time you spend on the road is important. That's number one. Number two, the care that is given on the road is also important. That is why in an ambulance, we have specialized health personnel who are there to help the patient that's being transported. Second scenario, let's assume we want to transfer somebody, or maybe somebody at a site that there has been an accident. Okay, that person we want to rush quickly to the hospital. Again, the time spent from the place of the accident to the nearest adequate health facility also is important, whether or not that person's survival chances will be increased or will be reduced. So let me give you a typical example. In my work at a hospital, right, over the time that I've been there, I've seen people whose arms or limbs could have been saved if they were managed in a certain way from where they had or they were involved in an accident to the hospital. I repeat, there are many Ghanaians who have been involved in accidents, and doctors, orthopedic surgeons have had to cut off their arms, cut off their limbs, not because they couldn't have been saved, but because of how the broken arms and limbs were transported from where the accident occurred to the nearest hospital. Now, mind you, there are certain things that most of the time people who are not health inclined overlook. It is that when you take our body, let's say this arm that you are seeing, and sorry I'm speaking health, I told you that this, I don't want to do straight politics with this. I want to take my time and explain to you medically so you understand why I would be against this abobolance that was purchased by John Mahama, His Excellency. So please follow me as we build the narrative together. Now, this arm that you are seeing, it is not just made up of muscle and bone. This arm that you are seeing, okay, my full hand, is not made up of just muscle and bone. Now, the common floor member, okay, someone who does not have any experience, maybe in health, say in nursing, in physiotherapy, in medicine, in pharmacy, and the rest, will look at my arm and say that, oh, this arm, we have bones, we have muscles, and then we have blood vessels. So when maybe, let's say, God forbid, somebody is involved in an accident and the arm is mashed, is broken, a typical common floor person thinks about, is the person bleeding? Do we have any blood vessel that is cut? Okay, or the muscle, is a muscle torn, is a bone broken? That is all. But much more beyond that, okay, we have nerves, and these nerves through our body, our arm, like we are using the hand, through our hand, are responsible for the fact that you are able to coordinate your hand, you are able to think, use your brain to lift things. Those nerves are responsible for that. And they are also just like the way we see blood vessels. They have terminals. They are just lines. Sometimes you cannot even see. Sometimes you can see. So most of the time, you have people who are involved in an accident, okay? And in the rush to rush that person to the hospital, the way the person was transported, people severe nerves. It means that you cut nerves. So the person can come to the hospital. As a doctor, as an orthopedic surgeon, you realize that you can rescue the bone, you can rescue the muscle, but that hand is going to become useless. Why? Because the nerves were torn, and the nerves, maybe the way they were torn, cannot be joined for sensation to return to that very arm. So you see how very important first aid is when something happens somewhere. Right? Good. So government after government in Ghana have seen this happen, not just for accident, also for pregnancy. There are places that a woman is in labor, right, and she has to be rushed to the hospital. Now people have to run and go and look for a taxi, sometimes a motor, to carry this woman that is in labor to the hospital. Sometimes by the time they get to the hospital, the head of the baby that is coming in is stuck in the birth canal for too long. So the baby inhales in maybe the fluid, the amniotic fluid that it was in, or those things, or several other things, and it leads to child mortality. Okay, so we were losing a lot of babies through that. And then also there was a lot of risk to the mothers, to them, because if, let's say, you are seated on a motor, you are having contractions as a pregnant woman, and so the baby also is forcing, yes, cerebral palsy is all part. Thank you, aspiring homemaker. And I'm sorry we are speaking a lot of health, but please follow and understand, so that when you meet an NDC person, you can tell the NDC person that this is not politics, so it is about lives that we are talking about. Right? So you can have a mother sitting on a motor having contractions, and the head of the baby is stuck in the birth canal, and it also affects their pelvis. So people go into childbirth and return, and they have lost sensation at their entire lower part. They become paralyzed for life. All these things is because of the kind of emergency system that we have. Mommy, you are welcome. Kind of emergency system we have. So they did a research in Ghana. World Health Organization was part, Ghana Health Service was part, and they realized that to reduce infant mortality, childbirth mortality, and all those things, and also to have an effective first aid management system in Ghana, we ought to have a good ambulance service. This was done since JJ Kufuor's time. So from this narrative, our foreign partners, including our government, have tried to revive our emergency system, teach first aid and all those to save lives. NDC in the first tenure, under Prof. Mills, John Mahama's stint, tried to revive the ambulance sector, which is the first aid sector. Now, much beyond trying to revive that, they saw it as an opportunity to make easy money, quick cash. So when they ordered for the ambulances, they took the money that was worth the 200 ambulances that they wanted to order, but they did not order what qualifies to be an ambulance. And I always tell you that when an issue happens, before you talk, take time, go into history, search the root of that very issue. That is the best way of that very issue. That is the best way of addressing the issue. That is why when you come to the hospital, I always tell you,